Hey everybody, it's Dean. Welcome to Winter Haven, Florida, our world headquarters studios here. And I'm really enjoying doing these episodes here in the studio. And today, I'm very excited we have the owner of the studio right here with us as a guest on the podcast. Juan, how do we say your last name again?
Pantoja.
Pantoja. I was saying it so perfectly before, but I want to make sure I got it right. So welcome. I'm excited to talk. So you've been sitting here. You've seen and heard a few of the episodes, so you know kind of what we're about. We're just going to talk for an hour and brainstorm some marketing ideas for your studio here.
Cool.
So tell me the backstory.
I wear my shirt today.
Yeah, you got it. I love it. Always be marketing. So tell me about the story of how this all got started, how we ended up here.
Well, in 2017, I graduated from Full Sail, the master's program for film production. And I made good friends with the partner in the business, which is the investor in the business. And we were talking about creating a company. So he lives in the UK, I live here. He's like, it's going to be easier to start in the US and then move it there. Okay. And that's pretty much what we did. We started a little office in Orlando. Then he moved back to London. And then we invested in a company that does augmented reality.
Okay.
And because of that, we needed a studio so we could market that technology and help them grow and all that kind of stuff. So we started looking around and thinking about where are we going to build a soundstage.
Yeah.
Orlando, at the moment I was saying like, we're probably going to be in between Orlando and Tampa. You'll see. And then the other guy that was working at the time was like, why? Orlando is where everything happened. It's like, yeah, but you know, planes and sound and Orlando, it's busy. There's no land. Everything is like warehouses, one next to the other one. So we found that Mr. Patterson was selling the studio because he needed to retire. And we came to visit one day and we said, yep, this is it. So late 2018, we purchased the studio. We did some remodeling. Open for business, the studio in 2019, and here we are.
And here we are. You opened just in time for COVID, for everything to be shut down. That was great. You know, the funny thing, I don't know whether I told you, but I actually looked at this building when it was for sale, when John was selling it, and because I own the office building, you know, just in Orchid Springs there, so right down the street. And you've done an amazing job with the renovation. This is a historic place. There's a lot of things that have happened here. And so now you've completely modernized it. I mean, that you've got one of those, is it LED walls? Yeah. LED walls, 20 feet by 12 feet. I mean, this thing is amazing. Yeah. If you see it. And how big is that main sound stage?
The main sound stage is 3,000 square feet.
3,000 square feet.
And 25 feet tall.
Yeah, of dead silence. You walk in, it's completely... You know, if you've ever been on a soundstage, it's something. It's a peaceful environment. It's like getting hugged, you know? Yeah, that's what I find it comforting.
A lot of people tell us, why Winter Haven? Which is the same question that John got. But of course, when this was built in the 60s, the only thing around here in Central Florida was Cypress Gardens.
Yeah.
So there was no Orlando. Tampa was starting. It was just industrial. So everything was coming through here. Yeah. But for us we're far away from the major cities. We can control the sound. We can control a lot of things. Flight patterns over us. And we have land.
That's what I was just going to say. And you've got is it 9 acres?
8.5 acres.
8.5 acres of land, forest, some field, some. So you've got lots of different opportunities for doing outdoor shooting and stuff. So anything anybody wanted to create, you could do here. So it's pretty amazing, the capabilities that you have. When you started the business, what was the mission of the business? What was going to be the revenue driver of the business?
Originally, our plan was to bring more feature projects to Florida and trying to be investors in independent projects, so that way we can keep those projects here instead of having them shipped out to Georgia or Louisiana or New York, where they have some film incentives, because of course Florida doesn't have film incentives.
Right.
But the cost to film here is somewhat lower than in other states. Yeah. So once you count everything in, it's like, it's cheaper to do it here. It's like Florida that has their own incentives, but not with cashback or advances is
tax
mainly
credits
like
or anything like that, right?
Yeah, it's mainly the cost is lower.
But with that Full Sail right here in Orlando, there's probably access to help to people who can do the work, crew and stuff.
There's plenty of crew. There is not just Full Sail. There is film programs pretty much in every university in the state. So Florida is like the hub of creating filmmakers. Like I would say like the same amount that there might be in California and New York more. So most of that talent normally ships out. They will go to California, they will go to Georgia, they will go to New York, they will go many different places because there is a lot of work here, but there's not enough film projects coming here.
Right.
There is a lot of work because Florida is for commercials.
This is great. So, I want to kind of go down a little path. I'm going to share a framework with you that I kind of recognized in about early 2020. I noticed this happening. And what was the trigger for me noticing it was two things. Kylie Jenner became a billionaire. And what I recognized from that was she, created her cosmetics company. But she didn't know anything about making cosmetics. And I started really looking into her thing, and she's got a team of 7 people on her full-time team kind of thing. But she partners with a company called Seed Labs that makes all the cosmetics, and they have all the capabilities to create everything that she needed. And then she just needs to tell her audience about it, and they break the internet, right? I mean, it's like, so I recognize this. I started calling this the VCR formula. And the V is for vision plus capabilities multiplied by reach. That's really the formula that's at play there. And when I start recognizing that, so what Kylie is, she's got a vision for what she wanted to do. She wanted to create cosmetics, create lip kits and color palettes and things that weren't out there, that she really, her ideas about this. But instead of what most entrepreneurs in America do, is they will now, if they wanted to make cosmetics, they'd get online and start looking like, how do I make lip gloss, or how do I make stuff? And they start going on and trying to find chemicals and the stuff that they need. And then they're cooking it up in the kitchen and trying to learn how to do it. Right. And the idea of not doing any of that, but finding someone who has the capabilities, every capability that you need right now is available for hire. Everything. There's no capability really that you need. And if it's something that's known how to do, there's people who do it, right? And then instead of focusing any amount of time on figuring out how to do something, finding who can do it.
Just market it.
Yeah, exactly. And then reach being, she's got the reach to get out to the people, right? All she has to do, she's got 150 million social media followers.
It helps her too that I used to be a makeup artist. So I worked for MAC Cosmetics for almost 10 years. It helped her too that she had a couple of collections launched with major makeup companies.
Yes.
And people, they sold out.
Yeah, instantly, right? Broke the internet. 30 seconds sellouts.
The liners and the lip glosses. It was all about makeup, the lip kits.
Yeah.
And they sold out.
Yes.
So that, of course,
she
showed
proved
her that
demand.
She can do it,
Yeah.
you know? And that's how, and most major cosmetic companies manufacture their products, or most of their products, within the same companies.
Yeah, there's only 5 or 6 companies that make all of the cosmetics. Yeah. Same with shampoo. I saw a guy talking about the shampoo business, and he said, there's only like 6 companies that make all the shampoo, and they all have exactly the same ingredients. He said it's all, you have a detergent, you have I forget what the terms that he used were, but those are the things. But the fragrances and all those things don't really do anything. It's what the FDA calls puffery. Yeah, it's just you could say it's got jojoba or whatever, right? It doesn't do anything, have any effect on the thing, but you can change the detergent, the bubbles, and the fragrance. But, so it started, it all sort of started blending. And then Mr. Beast Do you know Mr. Beast, the video guy on YouTube?
No.
Oh, okay. So he surprised me. He's the top content creator on YouTube. He's got over 100 million subscribers and, huge like reach with his things. But he opened up 340 Mr. Beast burger restaurants on one day in November of 2019. And the way that he did it was, instead of opening up restaurants capability, opening up each individual one, he partnered with restaurants that had excess capacity in their kitchens to be able to prepare his menu. So he had, I have a client who owns a grocery store that has a, kitchen that they do prepared things, and they became a Mr. Beast burger supplier, right? There's 23 SKUs that you have to stock, and then they show you how to make each of the menu items. And all you do is you make it, you package it in the Mr. Beast packaging and put it on the counter or wherever the staging area. And somebody from Grubhub or Seamless or DoorDash will come and pick it up. So this company called Virtual Dining Concepts, they're located here in Orlando actually, is the one behind it, that they find restaurants with excess capacity, pair them with celebrity or, proven concepts that are delivery only. And you have a tablet in your kitchen, and when the tablet comes in, you just make the food and package it up. You don't spend anything on the marketing. You don't spend anything on the delivery or any of that. All you do is make the food, put it in the bag, and somebody comes and picks it up, and they give you a portion of the money. So for excess capacity, if your restaurant, especially with COVID, restaurants were running at less than 50% of capacity. So they've got the equipment. And what was fascinating, if you go to the Virtual Dining Concepts website, they show there's only so many different types of like kitchen equipment, and it's all made by the same people. So you've got like a fryer or a skillet or a pizza oven or a refrigerator, a freezer, all the big 8 things that you have, and you check what you've got, and then it shows you the concepts that are open to you. And, they buy all the supplies from the same supply. There's only a few, Cisco and other
the same trucks
supplier. Exactly. So you get the SKUs, what they have, and then you follow the recipe and out it goes, right? So that really fits in with that VCR formula. He's got the vision. He wanted to start a restaurant. Yeah, didn't want to get involved in the actual starting of a restaurant. So he put had the algorithm for, this is the recipe, this is the stuff. He put the time into, these are the menu items that we want to do. This is what a Mr. Beast burger is, and this is what the chicken tender sandwich is, and these are the fries that we want. So everything was his vision. Then he equips these people, shows them the capability. They've got all the equipment to do it. And then he puts out a video, and every time he puts out a video, it's the equivalent of a Super Bowl commercial. I mean, 50, 60, 70 million people watching each video. So he launched it that way. And now they've, it's this huge success. There are over 1,000 Mr. Beast outlets right now. And they've done the same thing with Guy Fieri, with Flavortown, opened up everywhere. So all of these things, we're definitely in this age where through Cloudlandia, through the internet, through the cloud, we've got access to audience, to reach for, nothing really, if you've built up that audience. Yep. So pairing those things is a big winning formula. And so I look at a place like this, what you've got is you've got this amazing capability here of producing any type of digital content. I mean, audio and video. You've got all the equipment. It's funny, I was telling you how the thought process for me of coming here, I was thinking about, I wanted to I've been doing audio podcasts forever. And I wanted to really kind of, now move into video content. Right, exactly. And I thought, okay, so maybe I'll turn one of the rooms in my building into a studio. And I was sitting at the cafe, N+1 here in Winter Haven, and I was thinking about, okay, well, what do I need? I need some cameras. What cameras should I get? The lighting, I knew the mics would be an important part, then the soundproofing, and what background are we getting? I was going down this thing of how much logistics are involved in creating that capability for myself. I realized I was asking myself, how do I do this, right? And then immediately I've trained myself to think, instead of how, to think who. So I started thinking, well, who could do this? What would be my real dream would be that I walk in and I sit down and everything is already set up. I record a podcast and I walk out the door. That's my dream, right? And because that's where I'm adding value. The most valuable part of the podcast is not the equipment and the technical stuff that makes it happen. It's the content. It's so my contribution to it is only this. And so I realized in that moment, I literally got up and Stuart and I came right over here and had that conversation with you and started the next day. When can we do it? Yep. And you said there. So I looked at it that, we've booked out now the next 90 days to do the every week like this. And, and I did the math on the stuff. I'm at the point where I can get, 20 plus episodes of the podcast for less than the cost of one of the cameras, and zero time invested in creating that. So the value of that is tremendous. And now, so I started thinking about, like, you've got these capabilities here. And one of the things when people have capability is it's in the way that you approach it, kind of thing. Like, are you opening up, I call it the difference between a capability factory, where you're doing work for hire, where somebody can come in and use the equipment and produce their content. You're producing what they want, like our relationship. Yep. So I'm coming in and doing that. Or when you've got access to your excess capacity, it's one of the greatest assets that any business has. And they usually always undervalue or under optimize it, And so I look at that as creating like a capability farm where you can look at getting involved in the vision part of something to think, what would be a great use for our capabilities is this, and then creating a system to partner with someone who's got the vision or who you could use with this vision to create something that then together you could work on the reach, or they've got the reach, and you could not get paid for the seed, but getting paid from the harvest, because you've got access to your capabilities for very small cost, free almost, if you think about the stuff. Like if you look at this studio, when I look at your capacity, okay, what we're doing right now, this is one of the primary outputs of this room is a podcast like this, right? Whether it's audio or video, you got the perfect environment for it. So if I look at that, your capacity for this, let's say that you could go from 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock every morning. If you just think like real capacity, that in theory, you could put out 10 hours of content if you staged and you had people like ready to come in, ready to go out. So there's 50 potential hours of output that could come from this room right now. And so when you look at what kind of output is coming out of this room currently?
Right now we have normally 2 clients constant and like on podcasts. We have a lot of music videos. So when they come for the music videos, they normally use everything because, of course, you can get multiple locations.
Yeah, exactly. Location. Yeah.
So they might use the sound stage. They might film something here.
Yeah.
They might film something in the forest. So,
yeah.
But for this room, we're like I would say like 10%.
Yeah. And so you look at that 90%. So what I would look at is thinking about that as an asset, that you've got like a capital investment that you could make, and it's perishable, right? Like when you look at You've got so much of it is sunk cost in that you've already got the mics, you've already got the lights, the cameras, the equipment, the sound damp, all of that stuff is there. So the incremental cost of capturing that other 90% is zero on that. You've already paid for that regardless. The incremental cost would really be the time, be Andy in doing the, being here to run the show kind of thing, produce the show, and you get Andy at a different price than you're charging me for Andy. You're making a margin on all of the stuff there. So your actual cost to create an hour of output would be minimal compared to what somebody coming in using the factory.
Yes,
I'm a client of the factory, but I know that I'm going to spend whatever it is per hour of output. And I know that then we're going to take that raw output and we're going to get it transcribed, and somebody's going to slice it up into little or smaller pieces. So we're going to use that content, distribute that content out through Facebook and TikTok and Insta and YouTube. And the podcast will be the same in that we'll have the audio version of the podcast, but now we'll put it on a YouTube channel. So we've multiplied our reach.
Yes.
You'll love this. I think I told you about the self-milking cow. This is the who, not how idea in place that most business owners are frustrated because they're trying to be a self-milking cow. They're trying to make the milk and pasteurize it and take it to market and sweep up around the shop and send out the invoices, all that stuff. None of that's cow work, right? Once the cow realizes that the valuable thing that they can do is create the milk, the content, the raw, the idea that you're sharing, the vision, that everything else can be done by farmers, right? And if they come into a farm that handles all of the stuff and the cow just gets to be the cow, go out and roam the fields and make the milk, the mind milk, come up with the ideas and stuff, and then come into, we lovingly call this the milking shed, come into the milking shed here and get all of my ideas out into digital content, right? And then take that and multiply it. And we've called that the MOO method for this, multiplied oral output.
Yeah,
we're creating.
What we've been trying to do, we get a lot of independent filmmakers and content creators that have an idea and they don't know how to put it out.
Right.
So we always tell them, we can be your production house.
Okay.
So if you're looking for funding, tell them you already have a studio. This is your studio.
Right.
Because we're trying to give work to the local talent too. So, and if they, like in your case, you wanted to just come and have it delivered, we can take care of all that.
Yeah.
The same thing for film productions or commercial stuff. It's not, and we're not doing everything at the same time because we hire other people to manage all the other stuff.
Yeah.
But that is what we're trying to do. We have the assets and the resources to pretty much just come with your idea. We'll make it a reality.
Right. That's so amazing, right? So that's where the thing. So how do you market this capability that you have? What's your marketing strategy for finding those people?
We've tried a couple of things.
Okay.
Because our product is a service and not an actual physical product. We don't use traditional marketing strategies. Like if I put out an ad on the TV, it's not going to make me any good. I'm just wasting money. My clients are not going to be there. The biggest thing that works for us is Google, because if you look for film production studios or sound stages or studios in Florida, we're there. And there's not a lot of us, so we're going to be in the top.
Right.
So that has been our most successful thing. So every once in a while, we'll put an ad campaign on Google just to reach out to other people. We have social media pages in all the platforms for TikTok, because that takes a lot of time to maintain. But we have a presence in Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah.
I think we have in Indeed. There's one that starts with an A. Well, so people can see what we do and what we're doing and what we're working. And every time we do a post, there's some extra reach, not just the people that follow. But we have been approached from marketing companies. Oh, we'll sell you so many clicks and so many engagement. It's like, what you're paying me, what you're charging me to get those clicks and that interaction, I can pay somebody to do it here, and then we can control how we do it and how.
Right.
So that hasn't been successful for us. But the main marketing that we use, and that's been working great for us, is Google and customer reviews and.
So that's so you're positioning yourself into places where people who are looking for you can find you.
Yes.
Right. So one of the things that we talk about are 8 profit activators that we talk about. Number 1 is to select a single target market. And the distinction that I make on that is that you're a perfect example of establishing all of those things so that you can be selected, right? And people, it doesn't matter. And you must get a variety of people coming in here, like somebody, because you put up the capability. Here's the stuff that we've got. And somebody's calling you, they've got a vision that they want to make a movie, or they want to make a commercial, or they want to make a music video, or they want to make a podcast. All of those things are independent capabilities, right? That when you kind of, I would look at how you could maybe productize those in a way and go out and find your ideal clients. So it's the difference between positioning yourself to be selected and doing the selecting is finding the people that would be the ideal. So one of the questions that I always ask is, what would be a dream come true? What's the ideal client for you? Like if you were to say, if I could just have it any way, this is what I would love to fill our time with. I mean, is it a feature film? Is it podcasts like this? Is it, what's your dream scenario?
The dream scenario is like the first day you were here.
Okay.
We had 3 clients the same day.
Yeah, it was packed, right? Yeah.
We had a commercial campaign going in the soundstage for 3 days.
Yes.
You were here doing your podcast, and then we have a short film that we were filming outside.
Yeah.
So that will be the perfect scenario, because the commercial work, I don't have to necessarily be there the whole time and with the client. They rent the space. I might be doing some troubleshoot and coming in and out. In the podcast, the person here doing the podcast, once it's rolling,
he's not at all related to the other, right?
There's nothing else for me to do.
Yeah.
And then I can focus on creating what we want to do, which is create narrative content and make films and make, stuff like that. So that will be the perfect scenario.
So ideal would be that that other people are paying the overhead, paying the things,
which is
to let you use the capacity to get your own projects out there. So that's the ideal. Is the thing. So what kind of things do you look at creating? What's your vision for?
Well, it's not necessarily my personal projects, but being part of the production of narrative content. So features, episodic TV series, all that kind of stuff. So it's not just it's not the rental of the studio or the rental of the space, but creating the content.
Yes.
So as long as the studio is full, then I can dedicate to that.
Yes. Without
having to worry. It's an easier way for us to engage more with the community, and we can be more accessible price-wise for those independent filmmakers, because then I don't have to think of all the bills that
right, exactly. This place, I imagine, is not cheap to maintain and run. Yeah, exactly.
So, and that's pretty much what we're trying to do. At the same time, we're a business, so you have to generate revenue. So in film, it's a little bit different, because there's so many ways of creating revenue, because you could create revenue from the back end. So you might not get paid a lot at the beginning, but you might continue to get paid forever.
Well, that's part of the thing. That's why I say getting paid from the harvest, right? If you're looking to sell, you look at these all the way along the way. We're surrounded by orange groves. So I always use orange groves as an example. But if you're in the business of like selling seeds, orange seeds, somebody's going to come in and they'll buy your seeds, and then they're going to go and plant seeds and then nurture the orchard or grove. And then in a few years, it's going to then yield oranges for 20 years, right? But the initial investment was in the seeds and doing the thing.
Planting,
right, exactly. And so you've got the opportunity. That's why I talk about the idea of creating the content, that being a participant in the content of a venture participant in a way of, investing at retail value, what actually you're getting for wholesale, but getting a percentage of the yield of this in the end, maybe forever. The IP, and having an ownership in the IP.
Yeah, and that is what we try to do with the narrative content. It can be a TV series or film. It's like we can keep a lot of the costs down, which is what one of the producers that it's one of our clients is like, this is the Dolphin Image incentive, because we can keep a lot of the costs down trying to leverage all the resources that we have, not just in the studio, but in the town.
Yes.
Because it can be a location around the street that they might need. It's like, okay, we'll find it for you. We need cars, but you got somebody around here. So it's leveraging that to minimize the cost for the production, but then we can get a percentage later on, the IP sales or,
That's the greatest thing. Like, I remember I read about Rob Dyrdek. I mentioned to you that the Ridiculousness show, the home video things that they find. And I thought, that studio that you have here, the soundstage that you have, is probably about the same size or not much smaller than the studio.
Theirs, I think it's, because I was watching it the other day.
Oh, yeah?
I think it's a little bit smaller.
Yours is a little smaller, or theirs is a little smaller?
We do production, so we can kind of see all this stuff. It is like a little bit wider than where the area of the LED wall is.
Yes.
But size-wise, pretty much.
Yeah, because your room is kind of divided. We got the little bit of a dividing. If you had it just one open space, it would definitely be bigger than.
Yes, because they have lights and elements to make the place look bigger than
Absolutely.
What it is.
And all the visual
have,
things.
Maybe 20, 25 people in the audience.
And they've got a fraction of the size of the LED wall that you're using, right? So you look at that, and I think about that. It's really struck me about what made him do that show was he was flying somewhere and he read about Vin DeBona, the guy who started America's Funniest Home Video. And he had this, multi-billion-dollar empire in syndication of that show internationally. It plays all over. Funny videos are funny videos in any language. That he syndicated all of that. He did, I forget how many episodes that he had of it, but it was this, billion-dollar empire. And Rob thought to himself, I could do that and make it more modernize it, make it quicker, wrap around that.
Using the social media
and
time span.
Exactly. Well, and plus who he is. Plus he had Reach and had MTV. And right now, Ridiculousness is 65% of the programming on MTV, meaning 65% of the time what's on MTV is Ridiculousness. And they've done 1,000 episodes and they've just signed for doing more. So he's created this IP empire that he has that is continuing to work for him again and again. And so I look at that, and that's the way I think about this, is that you've got the capability to create something like a Ridiculousness. Is there any, let's just explore like the kind of things that you could do in a show like this. Like, could you, you look at it, you could produce Seinfeld here. You've got enough space that every one of those sets would be built out and done in this location. You've got all the...
Not just that, but we do it movable, so you might have 2 sets in, and then you film all that, and then take that one, roll that one out, roll the other one in.
Exactly. That's what I mean. You've got that capability to create that. You could create Ridiculousness. You could that could have been you. Any news, The Daily Show, let's say, on Comedy Central, The Daily Show, you could...
Talk shows,
that could be you.
Shows. Yeah.
We talked about the VH1 storytellers and those intimate kind of environments. Any comedy special that people do. There's so many of those things that you could do.
Virtual concerts.
Yeah, you've got the capability for that. Exactly. That's a big thing. And even that LED wall that you have, a lot of times now when people are doing Zoom workshops, like I used to do big seminars with 600-800 people in the room, but that's like, so over the last 2 years that those numbers have gone down of people coming to live events, but people are doing Zoom events with thousands of people, and they're setting up on these LED walls all of the things so they could see everybody who's at the thing.
We actually had a client here, I think it was last year or late 2020. He was one of the artists from Encanto.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was doing a virtual concert. They had this big, massive concert in Colombia where he's from, but it was still during the pandemic, so nobody could fly in or fly out. So everybody did their part virtually, and it was a virtual concert. So he filmed his segment.
Yeah, I love it.
So it is, all those capabilities are here.
So I love that whole idea. Like that gets me thinking about, each of the things that, one of the, big concepts that talk about is thinking like Procter and Gamble, and having all these individual brands that are independent of each other but are micro focused on something. Like I look at this little corner of I say little, I mean it's a nice big room and stuff, but I mean in context of the whole place here, that this, if you just look at this as one brand of what you have that isn't affected by what's going on in the soundstage or anywhere else, that looking at that to go in and maximize the output of the podcast studio is an interesting thing, of looking at that. And then where it comes in is balancing that with investing in or creating your own ideas for stuff. I look at it that there's always this debate around ideas versus execution, like what's more valuable. And I always land on the side of ideas for sure, because people will always say, an idea that's not executed is worthless. And that'll be their argument that execution is more important. Right? And I'll grant that. But when you're executing, you're not executing nothing, you're executing something, which is an idea. So they're intertwined. They only go together. Execution depends on an idea, right? And the only way, if you grant somebody flawless execution, the only way to improve on flawless execution is to execute a better idea. And so when I talk about the capabilities that you have, you could produce Seinfeld in this show, or you could have produced Ridiculousness, but you didn't come up with the idea. Yep. And that's where the most important thing is, that if you look at it, it would really be important and valuable to put yourself in a position to seek out and develop the ideas that your execution could, have this big benefit. So if we just isolate and take the podcast studio, for instance, this, we're creating this type of content, audio and video content that, what are the most valuable flavors of something like this, and who around could be the best way to do that. If you balance out, right now it's at 10% capacity, is maybe if you got to 50% capacity as a factory, meaning people doing the output there, and then look for and develop your own ideas, like test rockets, for what would be a podcast of your own idea, or a YouTube channel. Even that middle room, that little room there is so eclectic, fantastic, just backdrops. They're just waiting for something there. Do you seek out and look to develop ideas like that, or do you have a strategy for that?
I don't. Right now, COVID hit us really hard. We had a team of 8 people here, and then, the economy for us, everything was closed for our business. Restaurants were able to open quicker, and stores were able to open quicker than us, because our industry works really in close proximity with everybody. In a small room, you might have 50 people. So it was harder for us to maintain the volume.
Yeah.
So right now, it's just me and my wife that are constantly here. Yeah, so it's a little bit harder to go out. But yes, we have the potential to have a lot of people here. I don't know how to get them here.
Well, there's the thing, right? So now,
in this space. Yeah.
Well, I'm Dean Jackson. Nice to meet you. So this is part of the process here, right? So you look at it, we're surrounded. If we just take is there anything like this in Lakeland? And what would be the closest comparable setup to what you've got here?
I haven't seen one.
Me neither, right?
The other ones, the other studios that I've seen with podcasts, they're a lot smaller and not set up like we are. They will have the same mics and the same boards controlling everything, but the cameras and the setup and all of the space is not there. So for us, it's like when we tell people, this is our rate, and sometimes it goes like over the phone, right? They haven't been here.
Right.
It was like, oh yeah, that's expensive. A little bit expensive. Right. And then they go to somewhere else, which is like a corner like this. Yeah, it might be $25 an hour, but you get just this corner right here.
You can't move, yeah.
So if you bring a guest,
right,
you cannot fit the guest there.
Yeah.
Sometimes smaller than a radio station booth.
Right.
Yeah. So once they come here is a different story. So part of our strategy to bring people to the studio to create their content is to get their feet in here because of the history of the place. The way that we try to preserve the history, preserve the space, tell that story to everybody that comes here, make them feel like they're part of that story. That's what works for us. How to get it to more people, that's the challenge, because it's difficult to, if I explain it to you over the phone, you've never been here, we have this much space, this is the setup, this is the cost. You was think, ooh, it's a little steep.
Yeah. It is when you just look at
here a couple of times.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Like, wow, this is.
But I knew immediately because as I said to you, I was starting to go down the path of let's create one of these I don't have a room this big, but certainly like just the footprint of where we are here, it would be the size that I could have a table like this, 3 walls, that whole thing, and the lighting without the where Andy is. So, I immediately started going down that path and realizing that just one of the cameras is you're $5,000 or $6,000 into the camera by the time you get the camera and the lens and that's a fancy tripod that it's on, and then the lighting and these mics are gotta be $1,000 each, and so you start doing the math on that. And I just signed up with you to do the next 90 days we'll have. So I realized that in that 90 days I could create 20 or more episodes of a podcast plus some other content in that time. And I haven't even gotten to the cost of one of the cameras. And it took 0 of my time to set it up. I just I told you my dream was to walk in and record and leave. And so when you start thinking about right here in Winter Haven, let's just take Winter Haven alone. If you just like got that thing, who's gonna benefit from creating audio and video content like this? Like somebody who's a small business owner.
Well, yeah, small business owners, but I found like we get a lot of calls for, I did not know there were so many writers in the area. Okay. So we get calls from writers that they want to turn their books into audiobooks, or they might want to start a podcast based on their story. And those are great. And we get a lot of calls from possible clients like that.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that are retired that have many stories to tell of 30, 40, 50 years in different industries.
Yeah.
I learned a lot. I'm new to the town. I've only been here for like 3 years. I know nobody here.
Do you live here now?
Yeah. So we had the podcast for the Chamber of Commerce here for a year or two. And every time that they came here, I tried to sit down because I learned from the other businesses that are in town, what they do, how long they've been here. Sometimes it's people that have been here since like the 40s or 30s. Like, wow, the history. And it's making those connections. And a lot of those people might think about doing a podcast because they're listening to it, to other people's, but they might not know how to start.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to, we try to tell people, like, just show up, do one here. And that's why we do the contracts for 3 months per se. Because, we can do like a gym. We'll hook you up for a year.
Yeah, right.
But having a podcast is a commitment. So if you've never done it before, 3 months is a good way to see if you can commit to that.
Yes.
So it's a way to tell their customers, it's like, we're here for you and with you. We're not trying to screw you over for a year, because in 3 months something happens and it's like, I cannot do it anymore. It's like, I'm sorry, you signed a contract for a year.
Yeah.
So at least that's what we try to do. It's like we We bring them in. Let's work you through. And if in 3 months you decide you want to go somewhere else, that's fine with us too. It's like, we're not going to be mad. It's all about growing the community.
Yeah.
And whatever you're doing here, you're going to be bringing people here too.
Well, absolutely. So, and that's the thing, right? So you look at it's creating contexts. I think that's a really unique opportunity. Like you think about, we had Ryan Joyce on one of the last episodes, and I was explaining to him about Boyce Avenue, the YouTube guys that really launched their whole career doing cover songs of the most popular songs on the radio at the time, and what a great environment this is to do that. Right. Yeah. And so you look at it, it's like, that kind of capability, if you're looking to find the people who have maybe those, those opportunities to create that kind of content, to get that out into the world, to establish or build reach is one thing. But there's not the road to the harvest through a musician is a lot longer road than the road to harvest for a financial advisor or you think about somebody, you look at Dave Ramsey, the Dave Ramsey show on the radio, and he does it by video as well. The Dave Ramsey podcast, you look at that you've got the capability here that somebody who's got the idea, this would be a great home for that.
Yes.
And so you start to think about what, even just on a local micro basis, if we just take I've coined a phrase of what local businesses are trying to do is to become 15-mile famous. That's really what your goal is, to become, and that everybody in a 15-mile radius knows that if they've got this particular need, that they need to call you. So what that creates maybe an opportunity is that somebody might not be able to carry a podcast all on their own in terms of a specific niche. But if you look at the big categories, like let's say health, you look at that,
that's growing every year.
That's growing every year. It's more and more important. Longevity, or looking great, feeling great, all of those things. That right here in Winter Haven, there are providers, there are experts that do one element of that. And you think about what an opportunity it might be to create a health related podcast and seek out and have those people come into the studio to do a show in combination. This is where, when you start thinking about now taking a step above the ecosystem and you deal with what is the foundational things. We've got within 15 miles of here, there are, 100,000 people, right? Or
we're getting there.
Yeah, getting there. But certainly if you include Lakeland, if you do 20 miles, there's certainly 100,000 people between Winter Haven and Lakeland. But I like, even if you just take Winter Haven, for instance, that people are going to go there. But they're going to, if they have a chiropractic need, they're going to go there. If they've got, plantar fasciitis, they're going to go to a local podiatrist. They want, any of those things. That you look at the opportunity to create a context that has, and build an audience that has reach there, that now that reach is an asset on its own. If we had a list of 10,000 people that were interested in health and lived in Winter Haven, access to that audience is valuable, right? Because it's what you can do with that reach to steer people towards the things that are available, to a particular chiropractor, to a massage therapist, to a yoga studio, to a personal trainer, to a nutritionist, to all of these things that are right here around. That each of those ones, if you were to help create something that would be a tool for them to use on their website, in their business, on their YouTube channel, on that stuff, but you also get to put it in the context of they're reaching these 10,000 people that you've got. That's a pretty interesting thing that would have a lot of potential, in terms of monetizing that audience. And then what creating that format and stuff could be syndicatable. That whatever, if we think about this, how many 15-mile bubbles are there in the United States? That format would work in all of those different markets, It's pretty interesting to think like that, or to think about, something that showcases, if you take about what are people's interests and what do they spend money and time on, if you think about health and, food, even all the restaurants, all the
that's
stuff.
Something that there's not enough restaurants around here.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's so
always full.
Yes, that's exactly right. So it's kind of an interesting thing, or having the ability for them to use video content and audio content to grow their business. So if instead of, it's almost like the cost of creating the stuff is the content is in the bigger context when you wrap it with a marketing context, that they're showing how they're going to use this to turn that investment into a multiple.
And we've been exploring too, like, for example, with real estate and everything, like a good way to like expand it to the masses is if like you record here 1 or 2 episodes every time you come here. We kind of try to offer that for our customers. But if we're trying to explore if we can do this, which is bringing 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 different businesses and set up one day where the cost of one day is divided by all of those businesses instead of just one.
Right.
And everybody will create their own content. So we're exploring that idea, how we can, we're in the early stages on how to reach out and approach that.
Yes. See, that's part of the thing. Like if we were to create, I think about, I mentioned in one of the episodes, Dr. Milky in Wisconsin, the podiatrist, and, what he's doing, what we're working on there is, transferable to other podiatrists. And that's what he's starting a business, helping other podiatrists do what we've been working on doing for him. And that would be the kind of thing where if you could wrap around a mastermind where you come and have people right here do a mastermind, and then you leave with your video content where you create we've got scripts and things for people so they get staged and sit there, and then you're leaving with either this background or a white background or the LED, any background you could imagine you can create, and they leave with
the content ready to go.
Absolutely. That's a valuable, that's a product now. You're productizing this.
Most people are using Facebook all the time for marketing their businesses.
Yeah.
And not so much YouTube, but mainly Facebook and Instagram. So, and both of them are linked together. So you posted in one, it posts on the other one at the same time. So it will be a good way to have them, here's your 30-second, 40-second commercial that you can put on social media and start blasting,
I was kind of joking about like even using that room or this room. I mentioned with Lane doing the, 2 grown-ass men reviewing toys for boys, right? Like just taking the top 100 toys by name, putting that in the subject line. Record it, unbox it, give it a rating, 3-minute videos. That's all it takes. And that would be an asset that is with an affiliate link to Amazon, which you're going to get paid on whatever they buy in that shopping cart, right? For the next 24 hours or 48 hours or however long the cookie lasts. But that's an idea that's kind of an interesting thing that might be. So I mean, we could talk forever, but this, we're at our time there. And I was super excited to kind of brainstorm those things. But what's this kind of got you thinking now, or what maybe stuck out as something that we might want to explore?
Reaching out to the community. We get our, I would say like a core of our clients, or 50% of our clients come from out of town, like out of state. Yeah. And the other 50, 60, it's like closer here, mainly from that other 60%, like 90% is music videos. But since we got here, part of what I've been trying to do is trying to maximize our reach within the county, because yes, people that are over 60 might know who Patterson Studios or what Patterson Studios was. But anybody under that have no clue that we're here.
Right, exactly.
So right now, that's part of our focus to make sure that people in the county start knowing that, this is...
That's kind of cleverly hidden in plain sight.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to tell me, turn there. It's see where that lead feather is. Then there's Pizza Hut. Turn right in the Pizza Hut. And then right behind it, there it is.
So far, I think we're starting to see some fruits of that labor, because we're starting to see where we go places and people's like, oh, yeah, you're Dolphin? Yeah, I know. I've heard of you. At least I've heard of you. That's a lot for us, because we're a small, little, tiny company.
Right.
And if somebody from Miami says, we've heard from you, it's like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know?
I love it. So part of that might be creating something. If you think about your selecting a single target audience, let's say Winter Haven business owners, like the business community that are trying to reach the residents of Winter Haven, right? That's really a viable,
those are the ones that are going to
substantial marketplace that if they knew, a lot of times they may even know the capabilities here, but they don't know what to do. So if you go upstream, let's say that we were to, as an experiment, do something to introduce the idea of podcasting, how to turn a podcast into more business for your business. And you kind of get people on that front, that get people interested in that, kind of leaning forward, how to use a podcast just like this to grow your business. And people raise their hand, curious about how to do that. You lay out how it all works. What's the mechanics of and vision for using a podcast to actually grow your business, and realizing that the podcast is just the tip of the iceberg. It's not that nobody's going to find it. It's a lead conversion tool. But if we couple it with doing a book that gathers an audience, that the podcast then is a way to build your community, that could be a really cool thing. So it's interesting doing, because there's other businesses in Polk County that serve businesses in terms of printing and design and websites and tech and all of that stuff. So putting together those, that might be an interesting thing that we could explore.
Yeah, we can explore
together.
Like that,
I love it. Juan, it's been exciting. I loved being able to do this with you, and thank you for creating this wonderful facility for me.
This is Florida history, and this place, we're doing everything that we can right now to maintain it as it is and keep it as a studio, because that's what it was built for. So it's part of the history, and history should be preserved. So
anybody listening, if you want to come to Florida and create any kind of video or audio content, where can they go to? We're on all social media platforms, and our website is dolphinimagestudios.com. The YouTube is Dolphin Image Studios. There you go. Instagram is Dolphin Image Studios. Perfect. And everything is Dolphin Image Studios. Okay, perfect. So there you go. Wherever things are found, there they are. And I would highly encourage you, if you can create an idea for some content, this is the place. We try to make it easy, and we try to bring everybody as a family member. Awesome. Perfect. Enjoyed it, Juan. Thanks.